To me, the truth, whether it's spiritual or anything else, is we come from love. And that's the energy of love. Some people call it oneness. Some people now call it the quantum field. That's what science is calling it now. We come from love, in love, to live love. That's the truth. Our purpose is to live love, to be the presence of love.
This is Your Purposeful Life, and I'm your host, Adrian Starks. I'm a speaker, podcaster, narrator, writer, and entrepreneur. On this podcast, we're taking a different approach to the understanding of purpose because it's not a one-size-fits-all. There will be a variety of guests expressing their purpose through the human mess we call the human journey. These conversations will guide you to a better awareness and understanding of your unique purpose in the daily life of mistakes, changes, and challenges, and how to put that purpose into action, bringing you more experiences of success, fulfillment, and achievement on your terms. Let's go on this journey of purpose together. Well, welcome back, everyone. Today, I would like to welcome to our community Diane Haworth. Diane, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. And welcome to everybody that's going to ever be listening to this podcast. What a wonderful concept. And I just think this is exactly the time in our history where we need this kind of programming. So thank you, my friend.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And thank you for being here. And I'm excited today to share this conversation with you, Diane, in regards to a good topic here that I think needs to be discussed. And that's to talk about how choosing to work with the energy of love and how that can increase brain function, resulting in more creativity, joy, and freedom in our lives and business. And I have a lot of varying people that listen to this show, and I'm pretty sure that something is going to just connect for them with that. And before we get into that part of it, let's just get some things out of the way first for the people listening today. I would like for you to go ahead and hit that like button with purpose. Don't do it halfway, do it with purpose, and click on the bell for reminders and subscribe to the show, Your Purposeful Life, on any podcast platform, as well as on our social media platforms at Your Purposeful Life. Now that I've got that out of the way, now we're going to talk with our special guest, Diane Haworth. And Diane Haworth here is a spiritual coach, speaker, and author. Her first book, How to Choose Love When You Just Want to Slap Somebody. I just had to say it that way because that's kind of how it feels when you say it. It was published in 2014. Her TV show, Heart-Centered Success with Diane L. Haworth, debuted in January 2018 in Washington, D.C. area with episodes available on YouTube. She's also the founder of Be Love Principles, and it is all about love on the show today. Diane, I am so happy that you're here, and I'm looking forward to learning about you, about this love perspective.
Oh, this is an important topic. And, when I talk to various leaders in different industries, sometimes they're like, don't say the L word. We have to talk about love. We have to talk about how we can treat each other with more respect, compassion, kindness, because that's what's going to create the world that we all want to live in.
Well, let's go back here. Why don't they want you to use the L word? What's going on with that?
I think it is an old paradigm of thinking. In business, you're aggressive, you're focused, and that love stuff is just too woo-woo. And one of my big messages is love is powerful. It is intelligent. It's creative. It's expansive. Why wouldn't you want to tap into that energy? That's what makes every single part of your life sing. That's when you find your purpose, when you are seated in that, what I call that divine inner wisdom, that love that lives within me, within you, within everybody.
I like that because, here's the thing about love. I feel that love is a misused topic for a lot of people. They get love mixed with lust. They get love mixed with, well, if you only do this for me, then I will love you. And I think it's become such a word that's been used to control people and manipulate people that I think a lot of people just have a distaste in their mouth about it. So I am happy that you are bringing this fresh perspective and this wisdom perspective to love to the show. And speaking of wisdom here, I want to talk about your statement that I read recently, and I had to just bring it here. You said that every aspect of our lives improves when we tap into our inner wisdom. My question is that what is your meaning for wisdom? I think people don't know what wisdom really is. So for the people that are like, oh, well, I'm not old enough for wisdom, what does it really mean?
Well, I really appreciate that question. And I have to say, some of the most wise humans on the earth are little kids. Has nothing to do
That
with
is
age,
true.
right? Yeah, but they come from authenticity and honesty and
That's
curiosity
right.
and inclusion, right? Who would want to do that if we would just listen to them? If we lived like that, if we ran our businesses like that, our families, how much better would that be? Everything changes. So, that wisdom that I'm referring to is what I would call your intuitive voice, your soul voice. Now, we all know, we've all been in situations where your head told you to do one thing that made sense. And in your heart, you're like, no, don't do it. I mean, I've married people for that wrong reason. I've taken jobs for that
I'm
wrong
raising my
reason,
hand. I'm raising my hand to that.
right?
No shame
You
here.
knew, yeah, it's just part of it. You knew
Human
inside.
mess.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I love that you say that because I think that our invitation, our purpose in this physical form is to be fully human and fully divine. We
Ooh,
bring the messiness of life to our divine core for guidance. Some people would call that intuition. Even wonderful business people will always say to me things like, I knew in my gut that was the right thing to do. Well, that's your inner wisdom, just a different name. We all have it.
I love that part you said to bring the messiness into the intuitive part of ourselves to learn. And that's so, it's just important. I find that we exit ourselves out of this ability to be able to grow. And what happens with a lot of our society right now is that we are in this perspective where well, I can only be wise if I'm this age. So let me just screw up now. Let me just make mistakes now. Let me just, get it all out of my system now, and then eventually I'll grow up. The reality is that you're saying children are wise. Children challenge us. I've had children challenge me, and they made me think twice about something. I'm like, wait a minute, I did say that.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase myself here. And that is something that's very pure to the heart of what we're talking about today, this wisdom perspective and intuition. Now, why did you choose this path and approach to living? What brought this about?
Like other people that are in what I would call my industry, I had a screwed up life. I had a screwed up marriage. I had screwed up health. Nothing was working. And I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I went to church. I read the right books. I watched Oprah for Pete's sake. I mean, I did whatever the guru of the day was telling me to do. And all of those things are important, by the way. I think that one of the ways the intelligence of love brings us messages is by programming, by exposure, by programming like this, by opening the door to our own inner wisdom. If you don't know it's there, you don't even know to look. But it was really just my own life was such a flippin' mess that I started to meditate. I didn't really even know what it was. I was not brought up. I'm here in a little rural area of Virginia. We didn't even have any yoga studios at the time, much less meditation practices.
Hmm.
But it was a way to calm my ego mind of all the fear, the what ifs, of the, oh my gods, this is going to screw up. It was a way to calm those thoughts so I could hear that real voice of wisdom that was always there. Adrian, I just couldn't hear it.
Hmm.
Just couldn't hear it.
I know that feeling when you can't hear it and
Mm,
you're surrounded by the chaos of life, the chaos of mistakes, and you feel like, well, how can I get out of this? Who can pull me out of it? And this is where I think a lot of people are getting lost in this. I have to be perfect. I have to have the perfect solution. No, you don't. You don't have to have the perfect solution. There is no perfect solution. You mentioned gurus earlier. I have this thing about gurus. I love gurus. No pun intended to them. However, I don't feel like there's one person on this planet that has the one answer. No one
that's right.
does. That's why we attract different groups. Our vibe attracts our tribe. So there are people listening today that are going to vibe with you. And I want them to. That's why you're on this show. and there's people who are going to vibe with other people. And I think it's fascinating that you're showing up on this planet as a person that is taking love to a different perspective. I love that. And speaking of love and change, the quote you have here is, "The world has changed and we are being called to change as well." What is that call to change? What is it?
I think it's an invitation. Some people would language that as challenge, as certainly chaos. But when you bring consciousness to chaos and confusion,
Consciousness. Okay.
what happens is that you can come from a calmer, more peaceful place, a connected place. And that's where these answers for what's best for you are going to come from. These times, I mean, it's no question. You and I know people all over the planet. It's not just like in our country that things are a little tense. It's everywhere. It's our financial systems, our government systems, our healthcare systems. It's my personal opinion that we've come to a place in our evolution where things that we've pretended worked and really didn't, the underbelly is coming up to the light to be seen so that we can make a conscious choice to live differently. Now, in the space of this beautiful podcast, we're probably not going to solve world peace issues,
Yeah.
but we can introduce everyone to the idea that the more peaceful, calm, and connected they are, the more peaceful, calm, and connected their families are, their communities are, our countries, and our world. That's how we change. We certainly are not going to change if we're just screaming at each other.
That never
I mean,
works.
we tried that, and that didn't work. What is that getting us? More confusion and chaos.
What about the people that have been through so much in their lives, Diane, and they say, okay, this is all fair. We hear it. But I've been hurt so bad. I've been mistreated by people. I've been betrayed by people. I've given everyone my love. I've done everything for everyone. Where is this love coming from me? And what about that? What can they do?
That is such an important question because we never want to, certainly I never want to discount someone's personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
It is my personal belief that we all, you, me, all of us, have gone through what the ego, which to me is your personality self,
Mm-hmm.
would describe as painful experiences, terrifying experiences, hurtful experiences. I would love to introduce one idea. And if they only go take away this one concept, this is going to be great.
Okay.
Love has never hurt you. People have hurt you. Governments have hurt you. Organizations have hurt you. Love has never hurt you.
Ooh.
Our misunderstanding of what love is, our thoughts around what love is, that's what's hurt us. But it's never been love. Love is intelligent, creative, expansive. It only is love. That is a hard concept, especially for people who have felt betrayed. That's something that I've lived with in my life. That sense of deep betrayal by someone that you loved and trusted, that's hard to get around. For me, when I understood that my pathway to peace had to do with forgiveness, had to do with, and this sounds crazy, I admit, being grateful for the situations that have come up, my learning that came up from them. I'm not necessarily grateful for every situation, but I am deeply grateful
Yeah.
for the learning and the way I evolved from them. Then I was able to let go of the past, stop fearing the future, and live in the present. And that's where all the good stuff is. It's here, not what your dad did to you 20 years ago or what your spouse might do to you 5 years from now. It's what's going on here. And I will tell you, it's not a place most people get to overnight, but it is the place of peace, of connection, of joy. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, I didn't have as much fun when I was dragging around 25, 30 years of baggage.
Yeah.
It just wasn't fun.
It's never
It just,
fun that
my life,
way.
yeah.
It's never fun. I find that you mentioned something too that just made me think about being in the present moment. And you also
Mhm.
have people that have inspired you through your journey of growth and how you are now this love creator. I'm just going to call you that, love creator. I like that
I do too. Thank you.
name.
And we all are, by the way.
Yeah, and you mentioned Eckhart. Well, let me just go back. You mentioned in your book that you were inspired by Eckhart Tolle. So we're going to get into your book too, that we talked about earlier. But you mentioned some authors that inspired you: Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer. The list
Mhm.
goes on. Michael Beckwith, and there's a lot of other great people. Louise Hay, I love her, by the way. She always says,
Mm.
"All is well in my world." It's like she just says, mother that keeps or grandmother keeps talking to you every single day, right? When something goes wrong.
It's, I got goosebumps right now. Everything is happening for your highest and best. I will tell you, there were some days when I said, Louise, I don't think you know what's happening in my life. But in retrospect, that is the most beautiful and powerful statement.
It is. It's an incredible statement. And I use that a lot to help me navigate when something is going on I don't understand. I think that's where we are all at in our journeys, that there's a part of us that it's still seeking to try to figure out what the hell is this? What is this
Yeah,
all about? What's happening here? Why is it happening to me? And I know that some people will say, don't say, why is it happening to me? But let's be real. Most people say
that's what
that.
we
Why is it
say.
happening to me? Because it is happening in that moment and you're in that reality. You also mentioned present. And I want to go to Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And I'm
Mhm.
currently reading his book, The New Earth, which he talks about what you're talking about, the ego and how
Mhm.
we're separated from our truer, higher selves. Now, speaking of, since I'm on a roll of books, let's get into now this book of yours that really inspired me because when I read it, I was like, Diane needs to be on the show. That's it. That's what we're going to do. She's on. Let's make this happen. And that's How to Choose Love When You Just Want to Slap Somebody. We're not indicating here to our audience today that you should slap anybody, or even you said that's in your book that it's not, you've never been violent or enforce any type
Mhm.
of physical thing. You just, it's a feeling that we have, an emotion of just saying, hey, please look at me here. Respect me, please. Respect my space, who I am. Can't you hear me crying out, saying I need your help? In your book, you talk about it brought a little bit of, how can I say this? Experiences back into my life. You talked about your father
Yeah.
being in the nursing facility and how there was this feeling in the beginning that you didn't feel like you were being heard. He was being supported. And every encounter, you just wanted to slap somebody for not listening, for not giving you what you wanted at that moment in time. And it brought me to this understanding and experience of my grandfather when he was in a
Mhm.
nursing home and how we got so frustrated at the staff for not catering to his every need. And reality is that they were doing the best that they could. And it may have been some people that were just neglectful. That happens from time to time. But the majority of the people were trying to work. They were trying to do what they could. And this book really touched me because I think there's moments where we all have where we just want to slap the hell out of somebody and just say, stop, stop disrespecting me. When you wrote this book, what was the feeling behind all of that, Diane? I mean, when you wrote it, who did you write it for?
I really appreciate you sharing your experience, by the way. Um,
Thank you.
when Here's exactly what I did. This was my purpose in the book. For years, I had been sitting in waiting rooms and sitting in nursing home and sitting in doctor's office with other adult children of sick elderly parents. And I saw them suffering the way that I had been suffering. And often for me, in retrospect, I realized when I wanted to lash out, it really wasn't even at medical staff. I was so frustrated at the situation. Just like you said, why is this happening to my dad? Why is this happening to our family? What did we do wrong? All of those, I call it my human was showing, right? That's exactly what was
Oh, I
going
like
on.
that the human was showing.
Yeah, my
Okay.
human was showing. So really this book it started out to be a love letter to the
Okay.
other adult children that were living that life, but it's turned into much more than that because we all have our frustrations. That just was the focus point.
I have to just show this here. to
Yeah.
people watching today. This is the book. Go and get that book. Absolutely wonderful. And it just depicts a really good perspective of how we all feel. And back to our conversation earlier about love across the planet, I think we are
Mhm.
missing a lot of love across the planet right now. There's so much anger, hatred, there's so much comparisons, there's so much of people trying to be perfect, trying to be accepted. And I feel there's so much confusion going on across the planet. And love is one of those words that we need to start embracing again. And I'm going to just call this out here, especially too with, I believe, men. Men have this connotation that they have to be strong, they have to have this type of vibe about them that shows their masculinity. And we call this toxic masculinity, of course. But there's this other perspective where I think as men, we need to start looking at love from a different perspective. Loving ourselves, self love. That way we can start learning how to love others better in our relationships, in our dealings with the world and people. And Diane, you mentioned this thing about love. It really makes me think more about my self love, how I look at myself and how I look at people in the world. And I just really feel like you're on a movement here with love. And I haven't seen anyone talk about this the way that you have. And I'm just in this moment of truth right now with you that I'm loving just to its entirety. So I want to also talk about with you this love sparking creativity, joy, and freedom with the brain function. Because I'm a very
Yeah.
analytical person. So when you start talking brain and neuroscience, you've got my attention.
Brains are
So
sexy, aren't they, Adrian?
I'm
Brains are
like,
sexy.
I'm
Uh-huh.
like, hey, now let's get into this perspective. So let's talk about the brain function and how this works. So are you saying that just because I love something better, or I love myself better, that I'm going to have better brain function, I'm going to have better creativity? How does this work,
So, oh, I love all of this. I'm so glad you brought it up.
really?
And I will even use examples that relate not exclusively to men, but I'll use them in the examples, especially with business. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Would
Yeah,
that
let's do
work?
that. Yeah, that works
Okay.
too.
So let's look at a gentleman who is at a job that he hates, that he bitches about on the way to work, third work, on his way home.
A
He
lot of
doesn't
people
want to
like
be
that.
there. Yeah, he doesn't want to be there. He is, as soon as he gets there at 9 a.m., he is watching the clock, right? Because he doesn't want to be there. How productive is that guy? I mean, how
Not at
productive
all.
is he? What happens is when we are in the lower emotions, and I'm referencing work by a gentleman that I deeply respect named Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote many books, but love Power versus Force is one that I really love that I reread every year. What he showed us scientifically was that he had a curve, and on these lower registered emotions, fear, overwhelm, resentment, guilt, blame, shame. When you are in those emotions, not every once in a while, but when you live there, you're really only accessing this back part of your brain that has to do with survival. When you go up the emotional scale and you can get to the point of courage and hope, and Dr. Hawkins beautifully actually assigns numerical values to that, and this particular value is 200. Once you open that door where you are really in a more hopeful, or you have the courage to change, that guy's going to change his job or change his life circumstance, whatever it is, you actually access this part of your brain that has higher strategic thinking. You go from the, oh my gosh, how am I going to survive this terrible thing, to eventually, right? You work your way up to love, joy, peace, calmness, creativity. You come up because you have access, right, to the part of your brain that is more connected to what I would consider the all. So if a guy's sitting at his desk and he hates his life and he hates his job, I mean, maybe he'll get whatever he needs to get done, but when you are in those elevated conscious states of love, of joy, of peace, that's where you and I have both have them. Everybody who's ever going to listen to this podcast, you know what I mean. You're thinking about something and you go, oh, wait a minute, I could do this. Oh, wait, oh, I could do that. It expands expands. When someone
Mm.
loves their work, they love their product or their service, they love their customers or their clients, they
Mm.
love their vendors, they have these beautiful, expanded, creative ideas, and they love what they're doing, and it shows. I mean, who do you want to go to and be stuck next to at a dinner party? The guy that hates his life, or the one that loves everybody and everything, and who sees the divinity in himself and everyone else? That's what
Whoa.
self-love is to me.
Whoa.
Recognizing I'm a divine soul, you are a divine soul. Everybody, even the ones that tick me off, they're all divine souls. I might be a little upset with their personality, but when I can see someone heart to heart and recognize wherever they are on the planet, that's my brother, that's my sister. And I love them. I may not love what they're doing or what they're saying, but I can recognize that we are part of something greater. That's to me very powerful.
I love that. It reminds me of Ralph Emerson. He says that when we encounter someone, then that person either teaches us what to do more of or what to do less of. But they're always a
There you
teacher
go.
to us. And although there are some people, I have to say this, Diane, that I cannot see them sometimes as divine beings. I see them as people in my way, just trying to mess up my world. I think that's how a lot of people would see it.
It feels
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it feels like it, but they are divine beings. So I'm glad you put perspective on that because they
Well,
are.
they are, and may I give you a little trick that I use sometimes when somebody's kind of getting on my last nerve?
Yeah, let's
I
hear that.
imagine I imagine that we're in a play and there's simply the character that is the best that gives me the best opportunity to grow, learn, and love. There were just characters in a play.
Okay,
And
characters in the play. I never thought of
we're
that one.
characters in a and think of it also this way. If it's something that is changeable, it's not necessarily love, right? So you can have a fight with somebody today and make up tomorrow, but love never changes. We're used to thinking, oh, it's my old girlfriend or my old boyfriend. I used to love them. I don't love them anymore. You may not have a romantic relationship with them, but love doesn't change. It is eternal on both sides of the veil, by the way.
Oh, I like that. It is eternal, and it doesn't matter. It's just you share love because it is a. I see it now as a given birthright of power that you have to exercise out here in the world to create more for yourself and others. And it's so interesting because it reminds me back in the 60s. I wasn't born in the 60s, but I learned a lot about it with Martin Luther King and the movements and how he chose love over hatred. And there are so many people saying, "Why? They hate you. This is happening. Why not?" And he was like, "Love. I choose love." And during that time, he was before his time. And I didn't
Hmm.
understand, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't understand, why choose love when you have people that are treating you so bad? Why love them? And what we're learning from you today is that you're not loving people to allow them to get away with what they did or what they've done, but you're loving them because it is an energetic field that envelops you and it expands. And if you are not loving the right way, you cannot expand that goodness out to the world, and that world can't reflect it back to you. So it is a give and receive system, right?
It is with someone as I was a little girl in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And I now, if you go to the MLK Foundation, there's beautiful principles of peace that
Mm-hmm.
are they're just stunning. Um, so you look at Reverend King as an example. You look at somebody like Gandhi. You look at
Mm-hmm.
Nelson Mandela. How
Yeah.
can you sit in a jail cell for 27 years and love your captors?
I
And
would have
look
come out swinging.
and look what happened. One of the
I
most
mean, yeah,
revered people in just it's mind-boggling.
yeah.
So this idea of recognizing the sameness and the divinity of each other, whether you believe in their actions. We're not condoning actions. If somebody has done
Yeah.
something horrendous and you need to call the police, go call the police.
Please do.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not,
Don't
yeah, go
condone
do
bad
that.
actions. Yeah.
We are not condoning that in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely not.
What I am saying is, while human personalities, egos, do horrific things, we are all born innocent. We are all born in this beautiful, authentic place of love, connection, curiosity, right? We just get, the Buddhists call that the original face. In psychology, we'll call that the original self. And then as we grow up, as we go to school, as we get our hearts broken, at least we think we do, as we have,
Can we
our
go
life.
back to that one? So the heartbroken. Sorry to interrupt you here on this one. I had to say this: the heartbroken, because anatomically we cannot break a heart. It is elastic. It is a stretchable muscle. It is
There
a
you go.
very tough muscle. We can bend it. We can puncture it a little bit. We can even bruise it. What I think happens to a lot of people, they get bruised to the concepts of love and relationships. So I just wanted to say that your heart can't be broken anatomically. Okay, so just saying.
Good point. Good point.
Go on.
Well, it's perfect. And what will happen is we become what's called the conditioned self.
Ooh.
The conditioned self is, oh, my family does things this way. My family eats this kind of food, and we don't go to that place, and we don't talk to those people. And, just all the screwed up stuff that we get taught. That's not real. What's real is when I watch my 5-year-old grandson on a playground, loving and playing with everybody. That's what's real. That's how we're going to, I really am convinced, that's how we're going to reclaim the life that we all want for ourselves, our children, our communities, and the world. That's the way we do it.
That is so important. And let's talk about spiritual truths now. And with this tied into neuroscience of high performance, what is a spiritual truth? I mean, I understand the concepts of spirituality and truth. And to me, when I think of truth, I think everyone has different truths based upon what they're here to do on this planet. Because I'm going to get woo-woo. And if you think it's woo-woo, that's okay. That's all right. But it's called conversation, philosophy. I believe that we signed a personal contract with the universe to be here on this planet. Now, over time, we forget about that contract. And every now and then we get nudged and say, hey, remember you signed up for this. You're going down the wrong path. I want to just nudge you a little bit here just to kind of get you in the right direction. So I get that that's a part of truth. We all have different paths. But what is spiritual truth, and how does it tie into neuroscience and how we work?
Well, I can give you my flavor of that.
Okay.
Right. But I really agree with what you said earlier, that we all are here to embrace our own aspect of that truth. To me, the truth, whether it's spiritual or anything else, is we come from love. And that's the energy of love. Some people call it oneness. Some people now call it the quantum field. That's what science is calling it now. We come from love, in love, to live love. That's the truth. The way that I see it. Our purpose is to live love, to be the presence of love. But our flavor of love could be podcaster, could be coach, could be author, could be someone who sits literally 6, 8, 10 hours a day and prays for the health and love of the world. It could be someone who is taking care of animals. You don't have to be on a stage. When you are willing and interested and you're called to, as best you can, moment by moment, be the presence of love, not your idea of love, but that energy of love. That's when truth presents itself in different situations, for example. I know that you're familiar with that part in my book where I ask myself, what does love look like here? And how does love move me forward? I'm asking for the truth in that moment because I know how my ego's going to move me forward.
Right.
And that's never worked out very well for me, I have to say, because I've tried that for decades and it just didn't work. It didn't work the way I thought it would, right? But when I relax into that inner knowing. And for me, I just say, show me, show me, show
Show
me
me.
how to serve. Yeah, that's what I did before we did this broadcast. I sat connected to my heart and said, show me how to be of service to Adrian and the audience. I don't know who's ever going to listen, but there is an intelligence greater than me that knows. And I do want to say this because I get the woo woo thing a lot. Every single one of y'all have this. You don't think anything about Googling, like, who was the guy in that TV show in the 1970s, and you trust it. We don't know how this works. Why is it any weirder to connect? I call it Googling God, to connect and listen for answers. It does take a little practice, and that is only because the ego doesn't want us to be that confident. That's all.
Okay.
That's it.
The ego doesn't want us
That's
to be
all.
that confident. Yeah, the ego is not that part of our true selves. And
Google God. Do that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Love the energy you're sharing here. And how can our community get in touch with you and learn more about you and your work, Diane?
Oh, I really appreciate that. Probably the best thing to do is go to More From Diane, and that's Diane, morefromdiane.com. That has a listing of my YouTubes. It's got also a free gift on there. It will also introduce you to my beloved Be Love Principles, which is the work that came through me. And it really is, it is the way I am currently being called to help people use relationships as a spiritual path. So I really appreciate you asking. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome, and it's been great to have you on the show here. And my next question for you is, what is your purpose for being here on this planet?
I believe the way you described a little while ago, that we all sign up. And there have been many times in my life that I thought, if I could find that daggone contract, I'm going to check and see if I can get some kind of a revision because I didn't think I signed up for this. But I think now my purpose has shifted over the years. When I was a young mother with kids, it was to raise conscious children. When I had ailing parents, it was to be not only still a parent to my growing children, but to help usher them into the later stages and the transitions in their life. Now I am in just a really blessed place where I am called to help people demystify love and to understand this is the fuel that not only satisfies you at a soul level, but it allows us to connect and contribute. If you're here on the planet right now, you're here to contribute to this greater whole. You're here to help usher in this new way of being. And that's why I'm here.
What an answer. And you know your purpose, Diane. And thank you for sharing with us there's many ways of seeing love with ourselves and on our planet, how to express it out here to be more creative, more joyful, and to improve our lives. You are a fantastic love creator. And I'm so excited to have you on the show, Diane.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you being a conduit for love and helping get this message out there. That is a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I really appreciate it. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's watched today.
All right. Well, you have everyone. Go and check out Diane, and we'll put her information into the show notes here. And make sure to follow her and to learn more about her Be Love principles.
Thank you for listening to Your Purposeful Life today, and I'm your host, Adrian Starks. Download this podcast on any platform of your choice by going to our website, yourpurposeful.life. Join me on my social media channels and be a part of the Your Purposeful Life community. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that like button with a purpose. Let's help you shape your purpose your way.